This is where we appraise properties as investors and show the different strategies one can take to get on the property ladder and to get started investing. Now, ValUp is a tool that's used by multiple investors to appraise deals, and ValUp gives you a figure that it suggests you can pay for a property deal based on your strategy, and ValUp looks at different strategies. Now, today within Property Spy, we will be looking at a lot that was unsold at auction recently. Now, the property is in Sydenham, and it's an auction held by McHugh Co. Now, this is the property here. It's lot 102, Worsley Bridge Road, Sydenham. And the reason it's of interest is it's a 2-bed in London, and it's available currently at 139,000. So that's typically what happens when a property doesn't sell in auction. It becomes available most times, and you can make an offer after the auction to purchase. Now, why is this interesting? Well, £139,000 for Sydenham is rather low. Now, as an investor, when you see this, it should set alarm bells ringing. I know what people want is below market value property so that you can get started and start investing and you can show off to your mates. But at auction, typically, if something this cheap doesn't sell, then there's another reason for it. Now, let's investigate to see why this hasn't sold or what the opportunity is for us. Now, look at this flat. It's a 2-bed flat. Sydenham, as I say, is in London. 139,000. You pay 139,000, you get this flat. Now let's look at this flat. This page is taking a while to move. All right, so this is what the flat looks like. It's a first floor flat. Doesn't look that amazing, to be fair, but let's scroll through the pictures. It needs some updating according to the text. Okay, you can see the wallpaper on the walls. All of this will need to come off. Okay, so you need to change the central heating. That radiator looks fairly modern, so that might survive. It appears to be double glazed. Oh, you've got louvers there. So you might want to change that. The tiles have seen better days. So depending on your strategy, you may want to do a full overhaul of the building. If this garden is owned by the top floor, then that's great. It's always good to have outdoor space. I wonder how it's accessed. If it's accessed internally or... Okay, so I presume this picture was taken at the bottom of the... Oh no, this one's taken at the bottom of the garden looking at the property, maybe. Okay, so this is what we can glean. So we've seen the pictures. Now, what do we do next? As an investor, you need to be looking at the paperwork, or you get your solicitor to look at the paperwork. And especially if it's an auction property, certainly you want your solicitor looking at the paperwork. Now, what do we have? On here, we've got the EPC for this property. As you can see, Worsley Bridge Road. It's a D rating. Okay, not amazing. And it says the potential is D, so it's right where it can be, or it ought to be. Now, properties are given a rating of A to G. Properties are given a score. If your property is F or G, then you cannot let. So this one's fine. 51 square meters, that's fairly large. Okay, for a 2-bed, it's probably below this space standards, but 51 square meters is large for a 1-bed. But this is a 2-bed. Now, what do we have here? I suspect one of the reasons it did not sell at auction is because of the lease length, the length of the lease. Now, this current lease was signed 2nd December 1938 for 99 years. Now, between 1938 and now, 83 years have elapsed. So it means that you only have 99 years minus 83 years left. Firstly, most of mortgage companies will not lend on such a low lease, because your typical mortgage is 25 years, and the bank wants to be able to get all their money back within the period for which you are taking the loan. Now, even if the property had 50 years, you still would not be able to get a normal mortgage from a normal lender. It would have to be a specialist lender. Typically, the safe region is anything over 80, 85 years. The safest place to be will be in the 90s. that way you can definitely get a mortgage, but you'd want to be racing to extend the lease. If you've lived in a property for 2 years or more, generally you'd be entitled to extend the lease. It's a right. You just apply to the freeholder and they will give you a lease for a certain price. Now, when the lease length has elapsed to this extent, so anything below 80 years, you're starting to pay an additional cost, and that cost is what makes it very, very tricky to get a mortgage, to be able to sell a property with short lease, and potentially that's why there's an opportunity there, because the price to extend the lease is often so high that people living in the property at the time can't afford to pay for that extension, so they have to sell. And the person who has the money to be able to purchase will come along and offer a price that's slightly lower so that he can pay for the lease extension, get a normal mortgage, and get whatever it is on top. Now, with this property, 139,000, lease length of just 15 years left. Now, what you want to find out is what you can do or how much it will cost you to extend this lease. Now, there are resources online that will help you determine a rough figure for an extension. Now, bear in mind, if this lease is not extended, the lease and the property returns to the freeholder. So the freeholder is there rubbing his hands together, hoping that you would not extend, so the flat comes back to him or to his portfolio, and then he can sell on the property at the normal market rate. So it's a really difficult position to be in. Now, this lease was signed or commenced 25th March 1938 for 99 years. They paid £5 or 4 shillings. I think that 4S is 4 shillings. And it's still £5. So there's nothing in the lease that I've seen to suggest that that price would continue to increase. So that's great. So it's just £5. So imagine this person, the freeholder, has been getting £5 every year for the last roughly 83 years. It's not a huge amount. But right now they're about to have a windfall, because to extend this lease is going to cost you quite a huge amount. So let's have a look at how much a property with a normal lease in the state would sell for in Sydenham. So here's one I looked at earlier. So one of the easiest ways to get this information would be to go on something like Rightmove. Go back. Let's just do a search. If we do, so this is the postcode for where that property is, but if we just do Sydenham, search 0 miles, and then we'll change it 2-bed max and 2-bed min. You can see the prices, the range of prices. You've got 275,000, 600,000, 625. Now, you really need to be careful when it comes to Sydenham, because there are different areas within Sydenham and different prices. So as you can see at the top, 275,000. Yeah, it doesn't look amazing, but it doesn't have that local authority feel so much, even though it might be. But it looks ugly from the outside. The rents will be normal prices, but people are swayed by what they see. So I don't know how many units are in this block. Anyway, this is the price, 275. So that's probably at the bottom end. The top end is 635,000. Now let's look at that. Is it a new build? Let's scroll through different pictures. That looks nice. It's been well tended. Well, you see, it's a new build. This is something that's visually pleasing, and people pay a lot of money for that. And it's probably in a better part of Sydenham. But the one we're looking at, as you can see, the range of prices. Now, the worst mistake you'd make is to say, well, a 2-bed flat in the area will sell for 635. So I'm going to offer on this property because it's I think we can achieve 635. There are nuances. So you need to understand the area and ask questions. There's a tool. This Valap tool is something that you can use. If we sign in there, just log in. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, so if we start stacking, next. So this is a new browser, add new appraisal, put in a postcode, gets picked up. So what's the property? The property is 38. Let's see if we can find it on here. Okay, select 38, property status. So it's just basic information you put in here. So on here, we'll put in residential, property price 139. Okay, something for appraisal. Yep, save that. Now, what we really want to look at here is not the appraisal, because this is a standard property. You're either going to do a flip or a buy to let. But what we want to find out is the sold prices, the prices in the area, and the sale prices. So let's see if there's any information that comes back. Yeah. So Worsley Bridge, 286. There, 400,000 there. But that's 0.09 miles from there, so not too far. Okay, 380, 390, and now all of that is within half a mile of that property. But as I say, you really got to be careful, because this 44 Worsley Bridge Road 286. Now we don't know when that's sold, but if we look at what's for sale in the area, okay, so for sale 300,000, so 0 miles, so that's right on that street, 300,000. 247, not too far from there. So you've got to try and gauge what you're likely to get if you purchase this property, paid for the lease, and extended it and put it back on the market. The things to do would be to look at tools like Vala. Now it's giving you an idea of 300,000 for what's on the market, but equally what's also very useful would be prices per square foot. So let's even go with a more accurate price per square foot. So price per square foot is roughly on average 615. So if we do 615 square foot net, this is 314, and a flat was 135. Okay, so you'd be looking at something like £373 per square foot. Yeah, and you've only got 51 square meters according to the EPC. So even if you took the average, you'd be doing 615 times 51 square meters times the conversion of square meters to square feet, which is times 10.79. So that would give you an idea. If we did that, actually, let's see what we get. So we've got 51 times 10.7, just roughly, times 343, 187. So that's not, yeah. So this is, yeah. So this is not quite the value, but from what I can see, I think the price per square foot will be slightly higher, and what you'd find is that you'd be looking at roughly around that 300,000. But the thing to do is to speak to local agents and give them an idea as to what you're doing. Now, the next thing that you want to do is find out roughly how much it's going to cost to extend the lease. Now, there are resources online that you can look at, and resources include, this myleasehold.co.uk. I also looked at another resource, but they couldn't process this one for me because the number of unexpired years is less than 50. But this one's got 15, and the existing lease value is 139,000. So that's a price that on auction that the flat is available at. Ground rent, I've put £5, and I've done a calculate. Look at the premium, 179,000, between 179,000 and 208,000. Okay, so it's done it based on a 5% deferment rate and a yield of 6.5% and an annual ground rent of £5. Now it's worked out that to extend this to for another 90 years, this is what they'll charge. So if we took £208,000 plus £139,000, that gives you 347. So that's 347. If you do £347,000 just to get the property, this property, 347,000, but the market rate is, or the market value we've deduced is 300,000. Can you see that there isn't much of a profit there? So that is the reason I believe this property did not sell. Now you can argue that you'd negotiate with the freeholder and they might bring down the price, or negotiate with the auctioneer to bring down that price. There's a reason why it's available at 139. It might be that the outstanding debt, if there is any, is 139, or it might be that, you know, there's some loans taken on the property. So these are things you'd need to find out. In terms of the freeholder reducing their price, they may well do, so it's worth having that conversation. But depending on the age of the freeholder, if you knew that in 15 years time you could have a £300,000 property on your hands free of charge, you don't have to do anything, you can sell it on in 15 years time, probably for 400k, maybe 350, then the negotiation will be quite difficult unless the freeholder needs the money now, and even if you offer them 150,000, still wouldn't make it profitable. So there will be a discussion to be had there. I'm not sure who the freeholder is. Let's look at the lease that was signed. The freeholder. Who is the freeholder? Is this on there? That was a proprietor. Is the freeholder the proprietor? Perhaps. No, okay, this is 1997. So this person. 38. So Masonette Sydenham Limited sold it to Mrs. Venn. Is that the name on here? Yeah. So Masonette Sydenham Limited sold to Mrs. Venn. So if Masonette Sydenham Limited still exists as a company, then they're the freeholders, it seems, and they're the ones you'd have to, or the directors are the ones you'd have to convince to sell, to reduce the lease. So if that negotiation is possible, then you may have a deal on your hands. But if not, unfortunately, the freeholder may want to run down the time till it expires. Which would be sad, really, but that's how it goes, and that's what happens with flats. So as an investor, these are things you look out for. You may want to find out if there's an opportunity to get the lease at a much lower rate, so that it goes off the hands of the person who's currently got it. They get some money, freeholder gets some money. If the freeholder doesn't want to play ball, then it's quite a difficult one to make work. But the good thing is the outstanding debt, or the sale price is fairly low. So sadly, this will not be a deal. But as you have seen, there are sources of information out there. There are opportunities out there. You just need to harness them and do what you know and know what you do. Now, if you need any help appraising deals or appraising properties, get in touch with us. Just go on our website, send a message through the bot that's on there, and we will be in touch. So thank you so much for your time, and happy investing.